there, and welcome to the Chasing the Rabbit podcast from First Baptist Church of the Islands in Savannah, Georgia. Be sure to follow, turn on your notifications to get every episode right on time. Help us out by rating this podcast. Even better, share it with someone you think may enjoy it. I'm Brooks. I'll be your host for today's episode, so let's chase some rabbits. All right, it's a good day today. We're kind of dressed for winter in here. I've got my not really, it's not a hoodie because there's no hood, but it's kind of a winter thing.
It's a pink pullover.
It's not pink, it's red. Well, it was on the
it was on a while back.
It was on the sale table, so maybe that's why. And there were some years when Georgia, they weren't really upholding the red, I guess. So it faded a little bit, kind of like our team did for many, many, many years. So Eric's got the camo going. I mean, this is it's like a winter fest in here. And you got long sleeves. Jason, no surprise, going short sleeves. Yeah. Adam, you're going short sleeves as well.
Yes.
So,
you know why I wear short sleeves in the wintertime around the church, don't you?
Why?
Because my office is a sauna.
It's kind of a
year round.
Sauna.
Year round. Or you could say sauna if you prefer. That's how they
sauna.
Say it, but you can
sauna.
Either one. It's hot. It's hot in my office. Your office is always freezing cold.
Yeah, it's freezing. That's why.
And mine's always super hot. So I got to wear my short sleeves or a jacket if I'm gonna.
Yeah,
I have that.
I do like this. I can go in and out.
You got
have
a
that
t-shirt
women's
underneath, don't
I
you?
do. Yeah,
I got a women's
That's what I have in
aerobic.
my office.
Yeah.
That women's aerobic windbreaker I wear in my office.
The pink and lime green one?
Yeah, I have a
Straight
pink and lime
from the
green.
80s.
It's
Richard Simmons.
Purple
It's kinda
puffer.
like
Sweating to the oldies.
Yeah.
And then,
do you have leg warmers?
Wow.
I do not.
That's good. Thank you. Thank you for...
Might need them.
Yeah, true. And if you get cold, just go to his office. So let's introduce each other. I'm so bad at introducing people.
Let's do it.
That's awkward silence right there.
Which way do you
Adam
want?
just wants
Which
to know
way do you
where
want to
you're
go?
going.
I'm going to let Adam decide. You point whichever direction because you're the keeper of the controls over there.
Go ahead, Jason.
Oh,
Okay.
This is what in the world?
Excuse me.
Oh my goodness.
This is off to a rousing
I
start.
forgot to put it.
That was well timed.
Somebody from Tennessee's calling.
Yeah, right.
All right.
They're going to check and see if your car insurance is out of date.
This is Jason. I'm the equipping pastor.
All right. This is J.O. Jeremy Young, the children's pastor.
This is Eric, the student pastor.
And this is Adam, the worship pastor.
Not your car insurance, your auto warranty.
Warranty.
Yeah, that's the ones where they call randomly.
I usually just say it's my good friend, potential spam.
Yes.
They're calling again.
So wherever you are right now as you're listening to the Chasing the Rabbit podcast, if you have ever received a random phone call from someone or a text or an email asking for you to extend your car warranty, just right where you are right now, even in traffic, just for a moment, just raise your right hand and say, I identify with that. All of us would. Well, just Jeremy, I guess.
I'm the only one that follows instructions.
Okay. You guys, have y'all ever had it? You got to raise your right hand if you've ever had one of those calls. Y'all never had a call like that to extend your car warranty?
I like how before my kids were in college and we didn't have student loans, I was getting calls about forgiving my student loans that I didn't have. I was like, you got the wrong person. Sorry.
Yeah. It's crazy.
Now when they call, I'm like, you probably still don't want me. But
Did you ever do that do not call list?
multiple times.
Yeah, they tell you do not do this multiple times because I was ready to go do it.
They did?
It had like in bold wherever, like
missed
you only need to do this once. But yeah, you still get all those calls.
Yeah.
So it's crazy.
I did it multiple times because they kept coming.
Yeah.
I'm like, this apparently I did something wrong. So
Yeah. Maybe it cancels it if you call it back. You need to call it a third time to get it back to canceled again.
Well,
like to activate it.
I'm convinced that answering the call is part of the problem too, because half of them are just waiting to see if you actually have a real line.
Yeah, that's a big problem.
I think if you answer, you're like, they're like, oh boy, we got one on the line.
Yeah.
Yeah. We'll call that person back.
They tell their friends, and it goes downhill from there.
Sell that on the list. Yeah.
So what'd you guys do this weekend? I know a couple of you took little trips, right? The rest of us, we were just here. I took a trip on Thursday, came back super early Friday morning, like almost middle of the night kind of Friday morning. But I was here for the weekend. So Adam, you were hit the road. Jason, you hit the road. Adam, why don't you kick it off? Tell us. You had a really, really neat weekend.
Yeah, we were with Chour Tour, and I'll actually have some pictures on the screen as you can see as we go through. So we had a great time. We had right at 30 go with us, and so we had a really good time on Chour Tour. We sang on Sunday morning at Burnsview Baptist and joined their choir in Greer. That's what's on the screen now. We had a great time with them, and then we also sang on Friday night at Pelham Church of God, and they don't even have a choir loft, so we kind of took over everything and had a great time there. And in fact, one of my kids, one of mine and Eric's kids from Five Forks actually came over. She's in music ministry now, and so she did a solo with us. So that was a lot of fun. The leaves were beautiful. It was cool. It was cold. It was just great. Then we also got to sing in a downtown coffee shop, and that was just tons of fun. Getting to do that. And then we also sang at Five Forks on Saturday night. So a lot, my voice is about gone, as you can hear. We had a lot going on, but it was just a great time. And they did an awesome job. I was so proud of our choir. Y'all would be proud of our choir. They just did an awesome job with leading in worship and not only representing our church well, but just representing the King well. So
No
it was
doubt.
good.
No
It
doubt.
was
So
good.
Five Forks not being a local diner, it being the church.
No, that's the
where you and
church that Eric
used
and I
to-
had
Yeah.
served. Yeah.
So
we
is
had
there a
served
road
there.
that has 5 intersections?
It's
Or
actually five roads that
sections?
come together in that
Five
area.
roads that
So
come
here's
together.
what.
in the
Okay, this
area.
is confusing to me.
Also known as 5 Points.
If there's just 2
That's in
roads,
Columbia.
it's one. It's a fork in the road. But once you get above 2, it becomes plural. So it's not called 2 forks.
yeah, that'd be
Yeah, see?
four options.
All right, Jason, go ahead and tell us what you did for the weekend.
Was it Yogi Berra? Yogi Berra, who was famous for his sayings, and he said, "If you ever come to a fork in the road, take it." That was his saying. Jeremy, what's your name again?
Do you have an option?
Can we do intros? I dozed off before. So, Jason, what did
2
you
roads
do?
Just stop
diverge
right
and
there.
open.
So that's a great trip.
Yeah, we had a great
Oh,
time.
let me say this before we hear from Jason. So I saw one of the pictures online of the choir in the choir area at one of the churches. But there were a lot of faces I didn't recognize. So either we've had people join our choir that I've just missed, or did you have a church where they kind of added their people in?
2 of the churches we joined in with them. So Five Forks on Saturday and then Burnsview on Sunday morning. I had sent them music for 3 of the songs.
Very cool.
And so they joined with us, and I got to conduct the mass choirs. And so we had a great time. It was funny. Sunday morning at Burnsview, we did an a cappella, the opening of My Jesus, and we do My Jesus, I Love Thee a cappella. And I did it with their choir, and I conducted that one. When we were done after service Sunday, several of their choir members were like, "Our choir don't sound that good. That must have been your people." But they did a really good job. They had learned it, and they followed well. So it was good.
Well, it's an opportunity, one, to share the gospel and build relationships, but 2, I mean, the encouragement you guys brought to these churches, just to have a group from outside, to come in and just come alongside of you and just kind of say, you know what, you're doing great, and you bring encouragement, you bring some energy, and they're probably talking about that today.
It was neat. Most of the churches, I mean, they introduced us as the music mission team from First Baptist of the Islands. Or from the Islands Baptist Church.
Islands
we got
Baptist
that a lot.
Church.
Islands Baptist
Amen.
Church.
Yeah.
But it was good.
Amen.
I was extremely proud of our group here. Y'all should be too as a church,
Yeah,
because
we
it
are.
was awesome. They did amazing.
And you put a lot into it, so thank you.
It's a good
thank
week.
you for doing
It's
that.
a lot of fun.
So, Jason, you were in North Kakalaki, correct?
Yes. Made the trip to North Carolina. We went up to see Emma. She was in a play at her school up there at the college at Southeastern Seminary, and they were doing The Importance of Being Earnest. So that was the play they were doing. But
Ernest T, the guy that's in the denim jacket.
No,
it's
Ernest Saved Christmas, Ernest.
Yeah.
It's a
That's
different
Ernest P.
Ernest.
Worrell.
It's a different Ernest. I won't spoil it too much, but you find out in the first act that there's nobody actually named Ernest from the beginning.
In the whole play?
Well, that's important.
But they all want to be Ernest. The 2 guys, the 2 main characters, they want to be Ernest. And but there's surprises I'm going to leave out, because you can watch. There's a recent movie that was done in 2011. I want to pull it up and rent it maybe when she's home for
It's
Thanksgiving.
not recent.
So, well,
Wow.
the movie,
Tough crowd.
the play was written by Oscar Wilde in
Man.
like the 1900s.
I think that one slipped out. You can see. I think that.
I'm just big.
Jeremy was just a child back then. So,
That's a wee little man.
yeah. So, no, the play was written
And
by
I
Oscar
earnestly
Wilde.
wanted to be older.
And then there was an old movie too, but there's a recent movie and a recent or more recent movie. I don't know. So the trip was good though. It was very good. We got to see her. Luke came over from Liberty on Saturday. We went up on Friday night and got to catch up with her a little bit on Friday after the play. So she was in the play Friday night, Saturday afternoon, and Saturday night. So we were just trying to squeeze in time with her whenever she was available. So after the play, everybody was closed for some reason. We ended up getting some tacos and eating them on the campus outside the little pavilion just to try to. We went to a place called Torchy's Tacos. It was a good little taco
Torchy's?
place. Torchy's Tacos.
Ooh.
Yeah, they
Sounds
were
painful.
They had spicy options for sure.
Is that in Burnsville?
Yeah.
That's good. So you guys had good weekends.
Yeah,
Hit
it
the
was
good.
road.
It was
Got,
good.
Got to see all the kids, all 5 of us together, and we know Emma's roommate now too, so we got to hang out with her a little bit too, and so it was fun.
So fall leaves? Did you?
Oh
mention?
yes, it was so pretty.
Yeah.
The leaves actually change colors up there.
Yeah.
You know, in Savannah you don't see that. So
They don't know what to do
Yeah.
down here.
We go from pine trees to
Golden.
pine straw.
Yeah.
That's kind of
Yeah.
like our fall.
golden and red and orange. It was great. It was awesome. Luke said in Lynchburg most of the leaves have already left the trees, but up in Wake Forest they were turning. It was perfect timing.
There's one section in Savannah I noticed a few years ago. If you go out Islands Expressway and you hit the Truman Parkway heading towards the south side, it's that first section there. There's a little section of trees that they're like Savannah fall colors, and I don't know if they've already turned yet or not. I doubt it, but that's fall in
see.
Savannah. So go to the Truman Parkway. If I go, I'll try to
Take a picture.
let you know the status.
Send it to the pastors.
I'll let you know the status.
It was funny. We had a collaborative album that people could upload their pictures in, and I was looking at it this morning, and there's pictures of leaves. It's like,
Yeah.
you're Savannah people that don't
Yeah.
see
Something
leaves
about-
changing.
Yeah,
What
two
is
things you
colors?
don't see in Savannah:
Pictures of
leaves that
colored
change
leaves.
color and fireflies. I found that
Yeah.
out when I took kids to camp and Anderson, and I think it was Anderson when the kids were freaking out, and I'm like, "What's going on?" They're like, "We've never seen these.
Yeah.
What are you, fireflies, lightning bugs?" You know, and they were just having a time with them because you don't get those in Savannah. They apparently are not below the gnat line,
Yeah.
so you don't get them in Savannah.
So I have a question. We're going to leapfrog back to what you mentioned. You mentioned some of the churches you went to. You got Five Forks, you've got Burnsview, Pelham, right? Mm-hmm. So maybe somebody real quickly at the table could Google funny or interesting church names. What are some of the more interesting church names that you guys have ever
That
heard?
could be dangerous.
Because they're, especially out in some of the rural, that's hard to say, rural, some of the RURAL areas.
Yeah.
You get some interesting names. So I preached once years ago. I want to say it's sort of near Claxton. It was 10 Mile Creek Baptist Church.
Wow.
10 Mile Creek, that's an interesting one.
That
so
is.
you guys come across any? Five Forks is interesting. When I was in seminary, I joined a church. My church home in the Wake Forest area was Six Forks Baptist Church. Yeah.
Whoa.
They had
So-
y'all beat by one.
Yeah, we had one extra fork.
So the church I served at before I came here was called Utah Baptist Church, but it was spelled EUTO. Nobody could decide where the name came from. But I used to call it Utah Baptist Church of the Latter-day Saints because there's such a Mormon presence in the state of Utah. Spelled different.
EUTO.
EUTO.
And-
Udo.
Yeah, I bet that's what people would
Oh, yeah. When you
typically-
call the people, like from the magazine companies or, Christian curriculum, be like, you're at Udo? It's like, you too?
Yeah.
It's pronounced Utah.
It's a little complicated.
Yeah.
So when we get church pins, we'd get random church pins that come. You guys have seen those in the office. It's funny because our church name is so long. Usually the church pin samples we get are First Baptist Church of the Is.
Yeah, so it's
I
all-
Like,
yeah.
I like that. It's like, this
We just is.
is going on.
There is a post called Humorous Church Names, and a pastor did it. He said, Accident Baptist Church, obviously not Calvinistic.
Yeah, that's the one I'm looking at too on
That's
Blogspot.
good. Yeah. Little Hope Baptist Church.
Oh.
He
you
says
see the
it sounds
second
a
one
little
then?
better than No Hope United Methodist Church.
Did you see the second one on the list though? First
Yeah.
Church of the Last Chance World on Fire Revival and Military Academy.
Yep. That's in
those
Dade
real-
City, Florida.
Wow.
Yeah.
Those are seriously
That's not fit on a
This is
pin either.
his personal favorite church name was Original Church of God, number 2.
That's kind of
How
like
about-
the Greater Second Baptist Church
Yes.
in Chattanooga.
He says Battleground Baptist Church, ... Aren't they all?
There was some little town I went to when it was a fourth pres. I'm like, how many Presbyterian churches do we have in this little town?
Greenville has a fourth pres. Yeah.
Wow.
When I heard about Second Baptist Houston, which is a giant church, I just thought it was interesting. It's like a Second Baptist. I mean, that's weird.
But
He's
we've
got
never
this
heard of
one.
First Baptist Houston. that
Yeah.
much.
He's got this one, Waterproof Baptist Church in Louisiana. Begs the question, does the baptism count if you're water repellent?
Waterproof. So most of these are named, I guess, after those communities.
Yeah.
Because Five Forks is a community, correct?
it is.
in that area. So
I love this. When Paul spoke of being all things to all people, I doubt he had this in mind. First United Separated Baptist Church in Indiana.
wow, Indiana.
I've
that's
never
your
been there.
Home cooking.
Oh yeah.
You see sometimes the church signs that have the long, like everything that they're about, you know, the whatever church, the King James only, you know, this and that. Sometimes the church signs get a little long. What was one you mentioned earlier today?
This was from Jason, where he used to have a family member at.
Yeah, so my brother-in-law Neil, he is going full-time at a church at Pleasant Grove. And
which sounds like a really nice church.
Yeah,
I mean,
sounds
it's
like
very
pleasant.
comfortable.
I think the Waltons went to church there. So he's going to Pleasant Grove, but I think he was most recently, I may be getting it mixed up. He was at Mount Pleasant at one time, going to Pleasant Grove, but now he's coming from Wolf Pond Baptist Church.
Oh.
Yeah.
Wolf
And I
Pond.
told
Wolf Pond.
And I was saying to the group, and Jeremy can, you know, he's lived in North Carolina too, so he can back up these places. I said not to be confused with Frog Pond, but Wolf Pond is a real place up there.
I got one more.
That's true.
Harmony Baptist Church, which is not a funny name, but it is when you realize a half mile down the road is Harmony Baptist Church 2.
Oh, my goodness. Wow.
Oh, the split.
There wasn't a lot of harmony.
Yeah, the old, you know, the new whatever.
Yeah.
Many times. That's
I
kind
never
of a,
noticed that
kind
until
of a kicker that
I
they,
went to a church that
Yeah.
began with new, and my pastor told me, he said, yeah, it's kind of the trend.
Now-
Usually when there's a new vision, a new hope, a new
Yes,
life,
the church I
a
first
new
served
covenant.
in. Yeah.
Yeah.
The first church, the only other church I've ever served on staff in was called Magnolia Baptist Church. And then once the pastor left, and a few years after I had left, and they changed their name to New Vision Baptist Church.
Right.
It's like, I thought the
Isn't there
old,
a
the
Second
old
Chance
Vision was pretty
Church
good.
in Anderson?
There is Second Chance Church.
Second Chance
in
Church.
Anderson.
Second
Yeah.
Chance Church. Were you going to say something, George?
Well, we had one in Union County, Lakeview.
Yeah.
But there was no lake. There was a retention pond. But I always thought that was weird. I'm like, where's the lake you're viewing?
Yeah, I actually grew up in Lakeview Estates when I was a little kid.
Is there a lake
And
anywhere
I don't know
around
where
there?
the lake was. There's a Lake Monroe is down the road a ways, but you can't see it from there. So I don't know where they got the lake view from.
They weren't viewing it.
Maybe
yeah.
it's prophetic.
There might have been a retention pond nearby, but yeah.
That lake was pathetic.
And Lake Monroe, I don't think I've ever been to Lake Monroe in my life because it's not really that much of a
Here's
lake.
one for
It's sort of
those
a
who don't
reservoir.
want to fully commit all the way. You can go to Halfway Baptist Church.
You used to be at Midway.
Yeah, yeah, we were at
Midway Baptist. These
Yeah.
are Halfway Baptist.
It's a pretty good little church too.
Oh, goodness.
It was midway between Wingate and Anson and Frog Pond, maybe. It was midway between a lot of places.
Yeah,
That was how it was midway.
Well, you get some funny stuff because, like, you'll have whatever church and you'll have the greater whatever. I think those are always funny.
What's the one on the interstate? It's the Horse Stamp Church Road. Is there like a Horse Stamp Church? Like going down 95? You know what I'm talking about?
Yeah, I don't know.
I'll have to look that one up later.
If there's a road, there's got to be a church.
That's what I was thinking too.
Yeah. Yeah.
I'm
Especially in
curious.
a small community like that.
What's the huge one on the interstate in Orlando? Mary, Queen of the Universe.
Yes,
it.
that's
Mary, Queen of the
Mary
Universe.
Shrine. You have to put the
Shrine.
shrine in
It's a
there. It's right next to the outlets
Isn't it a
near
Catholic
Disney.
church?
Yeah,
yeah. Mary,
It's
Queen
interesting.
of the Universe Shrine.
I would like all those International House of Prayer. I don't know what they are, but it always reminds me of
pancake
IHOP.
place?
Yeah.
Yeah. IHOP.
Oh my gosh!
There's a story about those too.
Is there? I don't know.
Yeah, maybe even more than one story. So,
Uh-oh.
so I don't recommend it. So you know what? Something snuck up on me. We talked about a promo for this thing called Go and Serve, and or at least I didn't maybe talk about it. I had it written down. We didn't talk about it, so we don't know who's doing this promo. So maybe we can play that cool music, and then when the cool music stops, we can all sort of collectively do a little promo. Then we can play the cool music again, and then we can come back and talk about.
Let's
the
do this.
resurrection.
I'm gonna
I think that
pass
sounds
around this
good.
pen, and when the music stops, whoever has the pen, the highlighter, has to highlight the.
We have to leave the
Do it.
table.
You ready?
On your mark, set, go. And now here's Jason for a word from our sponsor.
It never touched my hand. He threw it at me.
You like my technique there, didn't you?
So violent.
Leave it to us to have a controversy over something as simple as passing a pen. You know what? I'll just go ahead and jump in. So we have this event that we've been promoting here recently called Go and Serve, and the intent behind it is to do exactly those two things, to help lead our people to go outside the walls of our church for the specific purpose of serving someone else. So on our website, we have a link called Go and Serve where you can click that link and it'll take you to a listing of about 10 different ways specifically that you can serve other entities within our city that we often partner with already as a church, but you can actually go hands-on and to be able to serve. There's some creative options in there, but we would love for you to go to the website, check that out. Now, there is kind of a specific time on the calendar this is taking place. It's going to begin this coming Sunday, November 12th, all the way through that week through the next Saturday. And so check out those options. I think you're going to find something that's going to really be right in the wheelhouse for you, maybe even for your family. There are a lot of different ways to serve showing up on site. There's some manual labor opportunities. There's some ways to help deliver shoe boxes to a group that's going to get those to children overseas. And it's a lot of different ways to be able to serve and different levels of involvement. So certainly there's one there for you. What a great opportunity this could have for us as a church if we all jump in and if we all go and serve.
Are we playing our jug band now?
I accidentally just hit one of the things here on the. If you touch anything on these microphones, yeah, you see you got the bass going.
Yeah.
We apologize for the extreme unprofessionalness.
I always feel like I'm going to play the 2001
Podcast
Space
staff.
Odyssey theme when I get this going.
It sounds like the
Not the right
Olympics to
guy.
It's a
me.
little off tune.
It is.
Yeah.
We just lost 30 viewers, listeners.
Do we have that many? For real? That's awesome. All right, so we've been looking in the series here, Jesus Come and See. We've been looking at various components of the life and ministry of Jesus. This Sunday, we did Christmas a few weeks ago because, the birth of Jesus, taking on humanity. And this past Sunday, we looked at Easter. We looked at the resurrection of Jesus. The Sunday before that, we talked about the cross and the death of Jesus. And so it was a good Sunday, obviously, great topic. It's the hinge on which all of Christianity swings. So you could go a lot of different directions when you talk about the resurrection of Jesus. What are some things that come to mind for you? What are some talking points that, for you when you think about the resurrection of Jesus, something unique to you maybe that stands out? Some thoughts?
Nothing. Trying to get y'all going.
That's what you think?
It was a good service.
Yeah. Any thoughts?
I like just it was a simple kind of a apologetic point you brought out. If the Pharisees were trying to squash Christianity early on, the best way would have produced the body, and I thought that was just a really good point. We've shared that with the students in the past, like, oh, it totally makes sense. All the other religions know where the grave is, but for Christianity, they don't because Jesus came out, and there's plenty of evidence to that.
That's one of the crazy things is it started in Jerusalem, and the explosion of the church wasn't far away. Like it wasn't a legend or a story, and people ran with it. The church exploded from Jerusalem, from the point where it happened.
Right.
So if anybody would have known, they would have known.
Well, and one of the readings he did was Paul said, you can check with these people. Like,
Right.
these are all eyewitnesses. They're still around. Go ask them.
That's 1 Corinthians 15,
Yeah.
you mentioned Gary Habermas, but it's really even the secular historians believe that creed, because they couldn't write back then, right? Or pass along the writings the way we could. So they had all these oral traditions. That one dated, even this most secular will say 2 to max 5 years after the resurrection took place, that 1 Corinthians 15 that Paul quotes. So right away, it wasn't like years of legend that took on, or the story, this guy told the story. Right away, they believed it. Paul said 500 people saw him, and boom, their church exploded because of that.
Yeah. And it's the fact that the resurrection was the claim, It's not like these other religions where people go to their gravesite, or they build they clearly know they've died, but now we're going to continue their teachings. It was all based on the resurrection, and like you just said, I mean, it was a matter of 2 months, I think it was, when Peter preached that message at Pentecost, and whether anyone wants to hold to the veracity of Scripture or the legitimacy of the Gospels or not, clearly Christianity grew, just like you said, and in Jerusalem. I hadn't even thought about that. Right there in the heart of where everything happened. I mean, when you got 3,000 people that are suddenly, now this movement has exploded instantaneously within a matter of a couple of months. I mean, all they had to do was say, "Here's the body, just go home," and it would have stopped.
Yeah.
Because it was built on the resurrection. They, we missed it. Here's another one we thought was the one. So that's a good point. Somebody else? Were you
Yeah,
gonna say
I like that you brought out the details from Habermas. I think that's strong, especially because even liberal theologians or biblical scholars who don't hold to the Gospels and their veracity, they would say 1 Corinthians was authentic, that they believe that Paul wrote that and that it was probably one of the earliest writings within the church, even before the Gospels, that Paul was writing those letters. And we don't think of it in that way because it's Matthew, Mark, Luke, John, Acts, Romans. We think of them in that order, but that was an early writing for the New Testament. So if you read chronologically, those were early writings that he was doing and trying to hold up that same truth. And he was doing apologetics even then to make it clear, this is the gospel, this is the message. We were up in North Carolina, we went to church with Emma, and they were preaching out of Hebrews 11. It was interesting when I was listening later on the ride home to the sermon, what stood out to me, and one of the points that was made, but really kind of a thing, we often talk about, like, if you were to get to heaven, who would be the saint you'd be wanting to run to, to talk to? Of course, we could all say we want to go to Jesus, but if there was a saint you were to talk to and ask questions about and things, who would that saint be? Probably everybody around the room right now. Who would be a saint you'd pick out? Like
Peter, Paul.
Yeah. Or Noah, Abraham, Moses.
That's a good question.
Yeah. So in Hebrews 11,
I think there'd be a line maybe with Paul and Peter.
Yeah.
Pretty long line.
You don't want to get in that line.
You don't want to wait in line. Look, I ain't got 10,000 years.
You can fast pass that real quick.
Enoch's been here longer. Everybody's talked to him already.
Yeah, the line for Jonah is kind of short. Let's just want to see Jonah.
Yeah. So, but what's cool if you look at Hebrews 11 is it says that all of these died waiting for the fulfillment of that promise. And to think about it, that really, truly, think about the fact they may want to come talk to us and ask us, what was it like to be able to experience salvation? What was it like? And, I mean, multiple times Paul will call it a mystery that was unknown before. The mystery of the gospel, things that even angels wanted to know, how God was going to redeem his people. And the death and burial and resurrection was a key linchpin of all of that. And that it was a mystery. Even the angels didn't know about it, but we get to experience it. So the saints before had died, not yet seeing fulfillment of that promise, but in Jesus' resurrection, he completed that promise. And so we actually get to experience it from this side. And we're looking forward to his day when he takes us home and when he comes again. But that picture of, that our redemption through his salvation and his work on the cross and his resurrection, that we get to see a picture of that mystery. And so I was thinking about that even when you were preaching, because, that resurrection picture of, that for them, they had to see the veracity of it and the truthfulness of it. But we also should celebrate the great joy of being able to be a part of that, to be on this side of the resurrection.
Yeah. Yeah. Good thoughts. Eric, you had something?
It was Matthew 28. As we were working through the different passages, that one came to mind too, and it's where it's called the pericope says the report of the guard, right? And it's where the guards are paid off to basically lie. Like the religious leaders, just tell them the disciples came and stole them. Here's the money for that, and if it gets back to your leadership, we'll cover for you guys. And I'm like, man, I mean, that's evidence, that it happened, because if they could have just had the body and put it out there, it would have been done. But that's just
because
point.
Historians that are secular, people trying to decide what happened, the big thing for a while was mass hallucinations, which doesn't make sense because that would be like you and me saying, how was that dream last night?
Yeah.
So the stolen body is kind of a bigger one, or that he, didn't die. He kind of came back. Apparently he was 100% run around after he was crucified for several hours. The stolen body thing, I think we've talked about this before. What's the motivation of the disciples?
Yeah.
Like what did they gain out of this?
They got forward to lie and put their lives on the line for a lie.
They got beat for this, gave up everything they ever known for this. So.
Most of them would die for their faith, majority of them, and John would, be exiled to the Isle of Patmos and live out his days in that way. And it's that question of all the things they lost, wouldn't one of them had given up the lie? Wouldn't one of them have said, I'm done with this? You don't have to, because that was usually when they were being taken to the cross themselves or to the lions or wherever it might be. It was usually the opportunity to recant and to say, just bow down to the emperor. You don't have to do this.
It wouldn't take much with me. Just pinch me once and be like, I'll tell you everything I know.
It certainly would have been the easier out, just to bail out. If it had been a lie, just to go ahead and admit it and say, you know what, this is getting a little too costly. But obviously,
well, even like now, so if someone came and asked me to deny the faith or threatened me with serious physical things, I might, in my earthly self, might consider it like, okay, I might deny this because I don't want to get hurt. They wouldn't do it because they literally saw the man resurrect and they knew what was going to happen to them if they died. Like, that's going to happen to us too. you can do everything you want with us, you know, and it's amazing that they saw that, they knew it, they were willing to do whatever for it, no matter what the cost.
Yeah. And you think about the lives that were changed too. You know, we mentioned James, you know, as James, one of his half brothers, who was initially early on, you know, he was at best skeptical, really more like, hey, let's just tone this down, Jesus. It's time to let this go, you know. And then at the end, he's a follower, and it was the resurrection that made the difference. Same for Paul, some of those we mentioned yesterday. But you think about the guard too, you know, one of the Roman soldiers, you know, who as Jesus died was saying, surely this man was the Son of God. You know, I mean, just the power of the death. You can imagine what the resurrection was like. I mean, for all these people who witnessed that, I mean, what it would have been like for us. I mean, it would have been life-changing, you know, because there would have been no way to dispute it. I mean, nowadays, if something like that happened, you would say, oh, it's trick photography or some, you know, something with your phones. You know, they did some kind of, you know, it was AI generated or whatever. But I mean, in those days, it's like, okay, last we saw him, he was hanging on a cross, and now here he is right here in front of me. You know, I mean, how powerful that would have been.
One of the things that makes the resurrection so important is sometimes I think the cross gets so focused on because that the cross was the penalty, you know, the payment for our sins. We can be reconnected with God, but we're all still going to die one day. So it'd be kind of like, let's say, you know, great grandpa died from cancer, and I've got the cure for cancer, and I run up and dig great grandpa up and I shoot the cure in him. He's not coming back to life.
Yeah.
So Jesus had to rise from the grave, or else we still die, and we're still, you know, we're still separated because of that death.
Yeah.
So that's what's so important about it. We have to have it. Everything hinges on it, like you mentioned.
Yeah, absolutely. And 1 Corinthians 15 is just such a powerful passage that deals with the implications of the resurrection for all of us too. So, and in there as well is that one verse that they say could fit over the doorway of every preschool ministry.
Oh, I saw. What is it? Yeah.
We will not all sleep, but we shall all be changed.
Yes, that's it. Yeah.
I forget which verse it is in 1 Corinthians 15.
There you go.
On that note, let's go ahead and wrap this thing up. We hope you can join with us next week. Thank you for tuning in to the Chasing the Rabbit podcast from First Baptist Church of the Islands. New episodes appear every Tuesday, so be sure to follow, turn on your notifications to get every episode. Help us out by rating this podcast on your podcast platform, and even better, share it with someone who may enjoy it. Be sure to check out our website, fbcislands.com, and subscribe to our YouTube channel, FBC of the Islands, and we will see you next time.